Hi, welcome back. We're doing a little bit of Q&A here. I have a question from a client, and it's about the if it fits your macros conundrum.
Yes.
Let's see. I think the trend of if it fits your macros confuses me. People claim it doesn't make a difference, but forget the importance of nutrient timing and how just that manipulation alone can bring results. Like, sure, you can eat one whole meal and have your 130 grams of carbs a day in one sitting, but the way that the body processes that will be different than if it were consumed strategically with other macros throughout the day. Yeah, okay.
I'll try to cover this with, I'll try to cover a couple things with this. One thing that sort of fits the if it fit your macros is that people say a calorie is a calorie. And by thermodynamics, that is true. If you ingest less calories than you burn, you will lose weight. But that's the problem, is you will lose weight. Your body stores calories three different ways. It stores calories as protein, which is muscle. It stores calories as glycogen, the carbohydrates in your muscle, and it stores calories as fat. So eating a hypocaloric diet will lose weight, but if you're not eating the right amount of protein, the right amount of carbohydrates, if your macros aren't set up right, then that weight won't necessarily be from fat. It could just as easily be from muscle or stored glycogen. And so that's why I don't subscribe to that calorie is a calorie thing. As far as what the scale says, yes, a calorie is a calorie, but we store energy in lots of different ways. And we want to store as much energy as protein as possible. That's our muscle. And we want to not store any fat energy. And so that's why macros become important. And then
when you're looking at body composition.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then your client I always took if it fit your macros, meaning if macros for a meal. I guess I never really considered the idea that macros for a total day. If you want to get 400 grams of protein in a day, I take it meal by meal. And that's actually how I set up my diet, is setting up macros. I give a list of proteins, a list of carbohydrates, and a list of fats. And we have protein sources. So when you pick your protein for that meal, and you're eating, it might have some fat in it, but we don't count the fat in it. And the reason we don't is because I give a food list. And so we do if it fit your macros, but we pick from a food list. And you don't necessarily need a food list. And so people think, if it fits your macros means you can eat anything. And technically, you probably can. But the problem is if you're pre-contest dieting, the only foods that really should fit your macro are the foods you should be eating. And, things like Pop-Tarts are not going to fit a pre-contest macro plan. There's too much fat and too much carbohydrates. Without any protein, it's very difficult to fit a macro ratio that's appropriate for contest dieting. Things like Coke probably don't, or Pepsi probably doesn't fit your macros. So it ends up being that the foods that actually fit a proper macronutrient ratio tend to be the foods that you should be eating. And in the off season, I pretty much give a if it fits your macros and say you can enjoy things like cereal and things like that if it does still fit your macros. Pre-contest, I'm much more strict with the food list.
But again, you're talking meal by meal.
Meal by meal.
Not just slamming all your carbs.
Meal by meal. And that's the body recomposition, because if you just slam it all at once, technically you're going by the calories a calorie, and as long as if I burn 2,000 calories a day, if I eat 1,800, that means I lost 200 calories of weight. But if you don't do that meal by meal and spread things out and have a consistent supply of amino acids, your body will preferentially lose that 200 calories from muscle glycogen and proteins. Your body doesn't want to lose fat. And if you look at it, we're still, from an evolutionary standpoint, our bodies are still cavemen. That was just a few, not very long ago. And so what our bodies respond is that having muscle is bad, because muscle burns calories. Just keeping a pound of muscle each day burns an extra 50 calories a day, just keeping it alive. But fat doesn't burn calories. So our body wants to burn off muscle as much as possible and wants to store fat, because if we don't have any muscle and we have lots of fat, then when there's no woolly mammoths to kill, we survive. And so by constant feeding and using the proper macronutrient ratio with the constant supply of proteins, good fats, and complex carbohydrates, what we're telling our body is that there's lots of nuts to pick. There's lots of woolly mammoths to kill. So we need the muscle to kill the woolly mammoths. We don't have to worry about the fact that muscle burns calories, because we have lots of animals to kill, lots of nuts to eat, lots of grains to pick. And then it also tells us that when we burn extra calories, we need to hold on to that muscle to kill all these animals. We can lose the fat then.
As long as there's a stimulus, and those nutrients are there, then the body will be okay with that extra amount of muscle.
Yeah. And that's why macros and meal by meal and a steady supply of meals is so important, because if you just go certain calories in a day, or even certain macros at any point in the day, just as long as your calories are, your body's going to say, we don't know when food's coming, we don't know if we need this muscle, we we haven't eaten 4 hours, or we haven't had any protein in a long time. Let's get rid of this muscle and keep the fat. And so you will lose weight, but you're going to lose the weight you don't want to lose.